I've just had the sights fixed, and they're perfect.
That's good to know.
Hello and welcome to another marvelous video. Crafting a follow-up to a beloved film is a huge challenge. Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained, an Academy Award-winning movie, concluded with a significant portion of its cast meeting their demise. The anticipation for any sequel is naturally elevated, but the prospect of a Django sequel faced an uphill battle from the outset due to the absence of many integral elements that contributed to the original film's excellence. This led writers Quentin Tarantino and Matt Wagner to grapple with a perplexing dilemma. How could Django's narrative progress without the ensemble of characters he had previously interacted with? This is where the introduction of El Zorro becomes pivotal. When discussing the Western genre, it isn't easy to envision a more formidable pairing than Django and Zorro. This is where the comic book series Django Zorro emerged in 2014, a collaborative effort between Dynamite Entertainment and Vertigo. Set in the Old West, the story offers a fictional platform where these two characters can cross paths. In essence, this graphic novel series primarily aims to introduce Zorro to a broader audience rather than serving as a direct continuation of Django's storyline. Get ready for a thrilling ride as we delve into the 7-part comic book series, authored by director Quentin Tarantino and iconic comic book writer Matt Wagner. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, let's begin. The fastest gun in the South meets El Zorro. Before we dive into the intricate details of each issue, let's take a moment to explore the backgrounds of the two central characters and understand how did they get to this point. Zorro can be seen as a precursor to Batman. This dashing swordsman, clad entirely in black, became a beloved figure for generations, including my grandparents. The character was first introduced in 1920, and veteran actor Douglas Fairbanks enormously popularized Zorro when he portrayed the vigilante in the film The Mark of Zorro, released in the same year. On the other hand, Django is a cowboy and my dad's favorite gunslinger. The iconic character made his debut in the spaghetti western film of the same name, directed by Sergio Corbucci in 1966. As for me, I'm a fan of both. When I think of Zorro, I picture Antonio Banderas from the swashbuckling film The Mask of Zorro, released in 1998. And when it comes to Django, I think of Jamie Foxx in Tarantino's Django Unchained, which hit theaters in 2012. Since the comic book series picks up directly after the conclusion of Django Unchained, let's take a moment to discuss the movie itself. Django Unchained follows the journey of Django, a freed slave turned bounty hunter. With the help of Dr. King Schultz, a German bounty hunter, Django seeks to rescue his wife, Broomhilda, from the sadistic plantation owner Calvin Candy. They penetrate Candy's plantation by assuming the roles of prospective purchasers of a formidable slave. However, the scheme falls apart, culminating in a brutal confrontation that leads to Django's victory and the liberation of Broomhilda, albeit with the significant sacrifice of Dr. King Schultz's life. Let's explore the narrative that unfolds from this point in his journey. Chapter 1. A promising start to a straightforward adventure. The initial installment of this comic series acts as an unauthorized follow-up to Django Unchained and carries forward Matt Wagner's narrative, drawing from his prior experience writing for Zorro. The narrative introduces the characters directly to the reader as Django and Diego de la Vega exchange introductions in the sandy desert. Initially, this comic book appears to mark the beginning of a straightforward adventure, with both characters sharing a common interest and heading towards a gratifying resolution. In the story's opening, Django encounters a sophisticated stranger named Don Diego de la Vega, who is El Zorro's alter ego, traveling in a carriage. When Zorro invited Django to sit beside him rather than beside the driver, Django realized that even this white man, like his old friend Schultz, did not discriminate based on skin color. As fate would have it, they both found themselves in a minor altercation when they crossed paths with several members of the Barrington brothers, whom Django swiftly dispatched with his gun. Observing Django's skills, Zorro enlisted him as a bodyguard, echoing how Christopher Waltz's King Schultz character had hired Django as a bounty hunter in the film. It becomes clear that Zorro's mission is to thwart an individual who goes by the name of Archduke of Arizona, the main antagonist of the series. Towards the end of the issue, Django witnessed Don Diego's remarkable combat abilities for the first time as the swordman effortlessly put down multiple thugs who attempted to provoke him. This left Django questioning why Don Diego needed a bodyguard in the first place. Django's inclination to shoot first and Diego's inclination towards patience are prominently displayed in the first issue. Chapter 2: Unmasking the Antagonist. In the initial run of the Django Unchained sequel, the identity of the antagonist and the reasons for disliking them were not made explicit. However, this issue effectively addresses those concerns. Following Quentin Tarantino's storytelling style, there's a significant time jump. The second issue commences with an extensive flashback that consumes approximately 3/4 of the issue, focusing on the son of the Archduke of Arizona as he recounts his father's history. The son's name is Alric Landon, and his father, the Archduke's name is Gurko Langdon. As the flashback begins, Gurko initially appears as a reasonably decent man, filled with dreams, who watches his son play with a child his own age, a young peasant girl named Conchita. He even becomes a surrogate father to the girl, which is quite admirable. However, Langdon's actions take a somewhat unconventional turn. He proceeds with a plan that involves sending the children to a boarding school in Madrid, nearly bankrupting himself to fabricate a false family for Conchita, whom he renamed Consuela. He also goes to an extent of joining a monastery to gain access to their most closely guarded secrets and knowledge. From this point onward, the narrative takes a bizarre turn. Senior Langdon reappears on the scene after an absence of 11 years and encounters the now-grown Alric and Conchita, who have likely developed romantic feelings for each other. What action does he take? He reveals to Conchita that his previous actions were motivated by a desire to marry her and lay claim to her wealth, which, through falsified documents, includes ownership of the entire Arizona territory. What a creep. Of course, the poor girl had to accept. Returning to the present moment in the story, Archduke of Arizona Gurko Landon, in anticipation of the Transcontinental Railroad, has enslaved the indigenous people to work on a statewide railway. He's waiting for the United States to acknowledge his claim as the sovereign ruler of the territory, as per the Treaty of Hidalgo Guadalupe, aided by the forged documents he created. Upon learning about the Archduke's oppressive treatment of Arizona's residents, Don Diego de la Vega embarked on the journey to dismantle Langdon's schemes. And given Django's first-hand knowledge of the horrors of slavery, he is eager to assist Diego in this mission. While the previous installment featured a significant amount of violence, this issue is characterized by extensive dialogue and serves as a detailed exploration of the characters, providing valuable insight into the unfolding events. Chapter 3: Diego's Entry into the Inner Circle. Our protagonists finally reach Phoenix and encounter the self-proclaimed ruler of Arizona, who presents a charming facade tainted with ruthless arrogance. The Archduke welcomes Diego into the inner circle of affluent investors. Meanwhile, Django begins to explore the shadows behind the scenes, accompanied by the silent but fearless Bernardo, Diego's mute servant. We get to know that the Archduke's ambitious railroad project is being constructed by the local Yaqui tribes, effectively subjected to a form of enslavement under their tyrannical master's rule. Upon their arrival at the mansion of the Archduke of Arizona, Diego endeavors to discern the depths to which the Archduke is willing to go to secure funding for this railroad project. Among the unscrupulous businessmen present, there's one particular concern to Diego and Django, Spartacus Lequent of the Lequent-Dickey Mining Company. As a reminder from Django Unchained, this company exploited slave labor in the mines, and Django narrowly escaped a life in those very mines. Furthermore, it's revealed that Django arranged for his wife, Broomhilda, to reside with her aunt in Philadelphia, a state where slavery had been abolished by that time. In the issue's conclusion, when Django is inclined to confront Lequent, with his guns blazing, Diego intervenes and advises a more tactful approach. Diego assumes his distinctive cloak and mask, accidentally revealing to Django, who had been watching from a window, that he is indeed Zorro. In classic Zorro fashion, Diego warns Lequent, compelling him to withdraw from his dealings with the Archduke. He even uses his sword to leave a signature Z mark on Lequent's neck. So cool. This issue effectively revitalizes the series, which had experienced a slight slowdown in the previous installment. It accomplishes this with Don Diego's sophisticated dialogue and the consistently thrilling developments that captivate the reader from beginning to end. Chapter 4: Connecting the Dots. In the fourth issue, both of our main characters witness the harsh and oppressive rule of the Archduke of Arizona as he pushes forward with his plan to build a railroad that spans his domain. We observe how Archduke lacks compassion for the laborers, treating them as mere commodities to carry out the laborious tasks, even if they lose a limb or even their lives. The Archduke also realizes that Lequent has escaped in the middle of the night without any explanation. Meanwhile, Django is grappling with his initial encounter encounter with the masked and enigmatic hero, attempting to understand how the same elderly man who offered him a role as a bodyguard can also be the vigilante figure. In this conclusion, as Django visits the construction camp to inspect the enslaved workers, Zorro makes an appearance and aids the laborers by dealing with a few thugs. Zorro's actions not only thwarted the oppressor, but also instilled hope for freedom among slaves. During this encounter, Django learned about the legend of Zorro for the first time and recognized Zorro's distinctive horse. This revelation leaves him firmly convinced that Don Diego is indeed El Zorro, and the issue concludes with this revelation. This issue effectively propels the narrative forward. While the initial, less thrilling developments might be considered somewhat uneventful, the gripping action toward the end, coupling with another appearance by Zorro, definitely generates excitement. Chapter 5 – Role Reversal. The comic begins by revealing that Zorro's actions have become widely known throughout the territory, eventually reaching the Archduke's attention. Since Django was also seen at the scene of the incidents, the Archduke instructs his son to capture Django. Meanwhile, Django confronts Diego and discloses that he knows Diego's secret identity. Later on, our heroes investigate the Cordoba Stone, a large rock formation in the desert bearing an inscription claiming these lands as the provision of the deceased Duchess's father, carved on the day of his passing. Diego and Django conclude that the inscription is a recent addition and not authentic. On their way back, soldiers loyal to the Archduke attempt to arrest Django, but in the ensuing chaos, one of the soldiers accidentally shoots Diego in the arm. Django responds by using his gun to eliminate several of the soldiers. Eventually, Diego steps in and instructs the soldiers to take him to discuss the matter with the Archduke. In the conclusion, Diego devises a plan to distract the Archduke. He outfits Django in his iconic black costume and mask, which would allow Django to infiltrate the Archduke's private study and gather additional evidence to dispute his claims on the land. For me, the highlight of this issue was when King Schultz was shown as a part of a flashback scene. Chapter 6 – A Race Against Time. This particular issue opens by revealing a meeting between the Duchess and Ulrich, who clearly share a deep love for each other. Ulrich displays genuine concern for the Duchess while harboring a restrained hatred for his father. Simultaneously, Django, dressed as Zorro, infiltrates the mansion's study. In another scene, Diego engages in a conversation with the Archduke, disclosing the possession of approximately $4 million worth of gold bullion. As the Archduke and his son enter the study, Django, disguised as Zorro, confronts them and coerces them into opening a safe for him to steal from. What does he steal? We'll find out later. Subsequently, with the assistance of Bernardo, Django escapes the mansion's premises and makes a horrifying discovery: several slaves hanging lifeless from trees. This sight made Django's blood boil. It is revealed that the Archduke ordered the execution of these slaves as a warning against inciting mutiny or trouble. Additionally, Django managed to steal crucial documents from the safe that would expose the Archduke as a fraudulent exploiter. Diego promptly notified the U.S. Secretary of the Interior. In the concluding moments, the Archduke ruthlessly kills Bernardo by shooting him. The narrative is approaching its peak, and it's unmistakable that there will be a flurry of gunfire in the last issue. Chapter 7 – An Epic Conclusion. The final issue begins with Diego mourning the loss of his loyal servant Bernardo, just as the Archduke enters and confronts Diego, intending to arrest him. Simultaneously, Django boards a train laden with explosives and detonates it at the construction site by leaping clear. However, he is subsequently captured by the Archduke's group of thugs. Just as the thugs are about to harm Django, an army of enslaved individuals, evidently inspired by Django and Zorro, comes to his rescue by throwing dynamite, allowing Django to acquire a firearm and eliminate the remaining thugs. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, Diego reveals his secret identity to Archduke, disclosing that emissaries from the U.S. Secretary of the Interior will arrive within a week to question the legitimacy of Archduke's title. Following this revelation, Zorro dispatches all of the Archduke's henchmen and engages in a sword fight with the main antagonist. Concurrently, Django and his newly formed army breach the mansion grounds by utilizing dynamite to destroy the gate, creating a diversion that enables Zorro to escape. Much like Batman, in a subsequent turn of events, the Archduke discovers his son and wife together in bed, leading to a heated argument that culminates in the Archduke shooting his son while the Duchess shoots her husband. After both of them are killed, the Duchess intervenes to halt the fighting and renounces any claim to the title and assets of Arizona. She also offers an apology on behalf of her husband. Ultimately, Diego bestowed the opulent gold-filled carriage upon the former Duchess, Conchita, recognizing her as an innocent victim of her ex-husband's machinations. In the end, Zorro bids bids farewell to Django, expressing hope for a future meeting, which, as of now, has yet to occur. Marvelous verdict. That brings us to the end of this video. For fans of Django Unchained, this graphic novel is a satisfying treat. Django Zorro is a highly entertaining concept, executed with precision. It's the kind of concept that can only come to life in the pages of a comic book. Unlike movies with massive budgets and tight schedules involving in-demand talents like Banderas, Tarantino, and Jamie Foxx, a comic book allows the idea to be easily realized. In conclusion, the journey through Django Zorro graphic novel series has been a thrilling and captivating experience. Quentin Tarantino and Matt Wagner masterfully navigate the challenge of continuing Django's story after Django Unchained by introducing the iconic character of Zorro. The blend of these two legendary figures in the Old West creates an engaging narrative filled with action, suspense, and complex characters. It's a must-read for those seeking an exhilarating fusion of Western and vigilante genres. What do you think of the comic book series? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like this video, please remember to hit that like button and share the video with all your friends. Thanks and have a good one.